Hello, this is Alexander Cross, criminal defense here in the San Francisco Bay Area. If you'd like to learn more about criminal defense, be sure to subscribe to our channel, Law Offices of Cross and Associates. So we received an interesting inquiry here on our YouTube channel. Let's see here. This has to do with domestic violence plus DUI. Criminal attorney, Pittsburgh. Domestic violence attorney, Pittsburgh. DUI attorney, Pittsburgh. Let's see. In 2012, I had a case of domestic violence, 8 years ago, okay, and complied with everything imposed by the court. Great. I was on supervised release while being able to visit my son. All right. But last month, I had a DUI, and I have been forbidden to visit my son. What do I do? Okay, this is really confusing because if you had a domestic violence in 2012, generally speaking, you get 3 to 5 years of probation, depending on whether or not it was a misdemeanor or felony. If you got supervised release, I would have to believe supervised release or supervised probation. I would have to believe that it probably was a felony, although not necessary. But that would have only been for about 5 years max. And generally speaking, domestic violence, restraining orders, and so forth, they only last for about 3 years. So what I'm assuming, based on this, because we're talking 8 years later, that this shouldn't really apply, but what I'm assuming is that aside from there being a domestic violence case, it seems like you may have had a civil restraining order from civil court, which would still have potentially been valid. It could have been renewed. And in that case, it's possible that when you got your DUI, which would be in criminal court, that the civil judge may have, if you still had that restraining order in place and maybe had certain visitation rights, it's possible that the judge may have decided in civil court that you were not I wouldn't say adequate, but you just were not responsible enough to see your child. But this seems a little off. I would say this. Granted, you have to take care of the DUI court. You still have to take care of your DUI case in criminal court. But in this circumstance, I think what's going to be necessary to do is you need to talk to your a civil attorney, because I think a civil attorney will have to go to civil court, add the matter on calendar, and discuss this with the civil judge in order to be able to continue with the visitations with your son, because I don't even see anything here indicating that it was the court that forbade you. It might have been that your ex-wife or wife, it might have been your ex-girlfriend, or it might have been some child protective services or officer or something like that. But I think you really need to talk to a civil attorney here. This is not really a criminal issue. The DUI aspect, of course, is criminal. We would have to go to court, enter pleas of not guilty, order copies of all the evidence. The judge would have to give us a new court date to come back and start discussing the matter with the DA's office. And then, of course, we have to look at the probable cause. Did the police officer have the right to stop the vehicle? Did the police officer identify you adequately? Did he arrest you adequately? Were you at .08 or more at the time of the driving? Did you do blood? Did you do breath? Or did you refuse? When you refused, were you given the Trumpetta advisement letting you know that you didn't really have the right to refuse after an arrest? Did they get a warrant to get the blood out? Or did you not even refuse, in which case they got the blood or breath? Was it a licensed phlebotomist who got the blood? If you blew in the Alka-4 test Drager device, was it calibrated? Those devices have to be calibrated once every 150 uses or once every 10 days, whichever one is the sooner one. So, yeah, there's a little bit more that needs to be said here, but regarding your son, you need to talk to a civil attorney, because it seems like this is something that should be taken care of very, very easily. It might have been just the social worker that may have just denied you the visits. It seems kind of weird. Anyway, regardless, if you'd like to learn more about criminal defense here in the San Francisco Bay Area, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Law Offices of Cross and Associates. But if you've been accused of a crime and need representation in court, give us a call at 1-800-862-7677. Once again, 1-800-862-7677. On our next video, we're going to be discussing the case of somebody who was, well, there was a theft in a shop with guns, and then one of the employees was accused of being a conspirator. So see you on our next video. DUI attorney, Pittsburgh. Criminal attorney, Pittsburgh. Restraining order, Pittsburgh.